Vicky, Sacha. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Silver Haze.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So let me start with Sacha first. Could you tell us where the original idea came from for yourself for Silver Haze?
Yes. So we did a previous film together, Vicky and me, called Dirty God, and that film premiered in Sundance. And then afterwards, we traveled all over the world together, and we really wanted to do another film. But then I said, okay, let's do a film that's more based upon Vicky's own life, because I got to know her very well in the meantime, and I got to know her family, and she had so many funny but also tragic stories. So based upon that, I started writing a script, and I wanted to do it really in Dagenham, where Vicky lives, and it's with her own sister and with her own brother. So it's a very personal film, and a great collaboration, I think.
Wow. Vicky, how did it feel that she wrote an entire film really for you in this case?
Yeah, it's what an achievement, what a life goal. I mean, I'm yeah, very honoured to be able to work with Sacha again. Great director to work with. She's one of my best friends, so yeah, it was just an honour to be able to have my story out there. Even though it is dramatised quite a lot, but it's based on true events. It's great.
So, what was the actual story? What was it? What was it anywhere close to the film that how can you say that was actually portrayed on film, or was it slightly a little bit much more different?
What towards my real life and
Yeah.
um, well, I mean, there's the I don't really know, Sash, help me out. It's just there's parts in the film where we improvised a lot. So for example, there was a scene between me and my sister where we had a bit of an argument in the street. Um like we've had that, like, so we've had that argument, so we kind of improvised on it, and the storyline of um how the fire started is different to my real life to it is in the film for legal reasons. Yeah, just I'm a bit stuck on that question.
Sasha, tell us about how, on specific on how you wanted to craft the story to make it much more, I want to say, a relationship drama with the backdrop of the fire.
Yes. So I had, of course, Vicky's story, and then around that, for me, it was important to have lots of freedom and to improvise around it, and to make a story that was truthful and could hurt sometimes, but was also funny. And I think both Vicky and Esme are such great actors, and worked with the material around it, and made it light and sometimes really harsh when they were fighting, or around their fights could be really intense and sometimes hurtful. I remember Esme saying the most awful things to Vicky, and then Vicky would be like, no, give me more, come on, you can do you can be much harsher than this. But I also remember laughing so hard about them, and it was a small crew with what we together that made Silver Haze, but it was a very loving crew, and they all worked so hard for this film and gave so much for it. So I'm very grateful for that.
Vicky, tell us about the chemistry you developed with Esme for this for this role.
It was great. I mean, she's a really great actress to work with, and you know, when I first when I first met Esme and Sasha introduced me to her, and you know, you you don't know how it's going to be on set, especially if you've never met someone, and to have such a intimate relationship, and you know, that's what Silver Haze is about their relationship. And I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better person to play that part. You know, she was great. And as Sacha said, you know, when we was having like our arguments and fights and stuff, it was like we after off camera she was like, are you okay, like did I go a bit too far? And I was like, no, like do more damage, like it ain't gonna hurt me, we're acting, you know. So I could trust her and she could trust me, and that's what the main thing was about, was to trust each other. And we made sure that we were both okay after as well, you know. We weren't just yeah, no, she's a great actress to work with.
What's your enjoyment of pushing, you know, to the limits of, you know, of your own character per se, and how did you get into the mindset of Franky?
Well, Franky's me as a person, really. And I've learned a lot actually from Franky's character. Um, in me as a person, is, you know, to never give up and to be strong. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's taught me a lot. It's opened my eyes, you know, that in my previous interviews that I've said, you can either be Florence or you can be Franky, and you either give up on life or you keep going. And that's what Silver Haze is about, is there's two paths in life, you know, choose one wisely. And Franky's a very strong and resilient person, and that's how I see myself.
Most
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah. Sasha, I understand you you worked with Esme before on a television series. Tell us how you wanted to approach her, you know, directing her in something that's very entirely different for her.
I think she really enjoyed it. I mean, I met her on the set of Hannah, which is a yeah, big action TV show where she is the lead in. And I just asked her, do you want to be part of this very low budget feature film where you will not have any trailers, you won't have any makeup, you have to do your own, bring your own clothing, because I don't have any wardrobe. But I think she was very up for it, and she loved Vicky. She saw Dirty God, and she was like, Vicky inspired her a lot, so she was totally up for it. And in this film, I mean, I think everybody worked so hard on it and gave so much, but it's also like Vicky's real sister is in the film, and her real brother is in the film, and her nephew's in the film, and we shot it in Dagenham. But for Esme as well, she sings in the film, but also the music of her father's in the film. So it's really sort of everybody gave something personal to it.
And speaking of personal, for you, Vicky, what was it like to you know, star alongside with your actual family in this film?
Oh, it's a complete honor. I mean, I'm so proud of them all. And um it was just amazing to be able to share my experience with them and give them a little bit of the spotlight, you know, because it's not the whole incident of the whole trauma side of the story didn't just affect me, it affected my family as well. And they've gone through it as much as I have, but they just don't have the visible scars there for people to stare at. But they have the same trauma as I do. And to be able to, you know, give them that opportunity to be working on a film set, to be exploring their emotions as well and getting their, you know, emotions out on camera and stuff. It was great. I'm so proud of them all, and they've done really well.
Sasha, you know, directing Vicky is one thing, but directing her family, who I'm assuming they're a family of non-actors. They're and
Yes.
so how do you approach that for your film? It's particularly for an independent film where you probably have a very tight schedule.
Yeah. Um, well, it was good that I already knew them from, yeah, the years before when I worked with Vicky on Dirty God. So they weren't new for me, and they also knew me, and so that was good. And they were really yeah, willing to go there. They had seen what it was, also what I made with the previous film, so they knew a bit how it would be like, I think. And yeah, they are, I think they are great people to work with. Sometimes they were a bit, I remember Charlotte ordering all of the sudden Uber Eats, McDonald's while we were shooting the scene, and eating it also underneath the table secretly while they were doing the scene. And I was like, okay, this cannot happen. This is not the way you should have filmed. But besides that, they were lovely to work with, and I think Vicky was also so much more experienced than when we did Dirty God. So she helped also a lot with them, and she was sort of the more experienced actor in it. So sometimes she would like tell them like, not to do this or not to do that, or even like with my funny accent, she would say, no, she means this. So she was helping me a lot.
I'll never forget the time on the train, and she kept wanting to get off the train to go and have a cigarette, and we were like, "We've only got one train journey, Charlotte.
Yeah.
No." And she was like, "But I need a cigarette." And we was like, "No." But I think she actually did get off the train and have one.
Well, it's excellent. And Sacha, you know, your cinematography in this film is beautiful. Tell us about how you wanted to shoot this and using very warm colors throughout the film.
Yeah, so I shot it with Tibor Dingelstad, and I shot also the TV shows Hannah and Doll Factory with him, and I think he's great. But to me, like for me, what was important that we would have a small crew, that we would have more time, but I didn't want it to look like a documentary, so that was important to me, and also that I wanted to make it colorful. And so we shot a lot on a Mophie, which is sort of a Steadicam, and yeah, to make it sort of floating, to make it like give you the feeling as if you're a bit stoned, basically. And yeah, and to be in the mindset of Franky, who is a survivor and who has such willpower and strength. So I wanted to visually yeah, feel that.
Excellent. And Vicky, I do have to admire your strength. I did not know, you know, the burns in the film was actually real until I actually had to read up on that. How do you find the courage to face the comfort to showcase that in the film? Because a lot of people who go through a tragic trauma like that probably could never do the same thing you could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's all thanks to Sacha, for me to be able to do that. And that all stemmed from Dirty God when we first started working together. I wasn't I wasn't a professional actress. I didn't know, how close the camera was going to be, what it's going to look like on screen. And there was times where Sacha wanted to do a close-up of my hand, for example, and my main issue back then was I hid myself for 15 years, 16 years. No one ever saw my scars, only what I wanted them to see. And then when Sacha was like, we need to do a close-up of this and this, and I got so upset and so distraught that I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to. I thought, shit, now the world's going to see what I actually look like. And it wasn't until I watched myself on screen and I see somebody else with my scars, and it was that moment, and I'll never forget it, that I sat back and I thought, all these years I've cried over the way I look, and actually there's nothing wrong with me. And it was just a moment of like, all the trauma and all the bad stuff and the bad thoughts just went that day, and they've never come back. And I've never ever hid my scars since. Like, if anything, I embrace them, and I just see it as it's nature's artwork, to be honest with you. If you look at it really closely, there's patterns, there's textures, and I've got something that not many people have, and I see it as something unique. And why not embrace it? Why not get it out there? And the best way to do that is through a movie. So yeah.
So how did you face I don't want to, spoil a particular scene, but playing with fire. I mean, how do you face with something like that, or have you overcome that long time ago?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm glad you've asked that question because it made me feel in control of something that tried to hurt me in the past. You know, it was like I was in complete control of throwing that bottle. I was in complete, like, I'm not scared of fire. I'm more scared of water than I am fire. I can sit around a bonfire all day long. You know, that doesn't bother me, and I've overcome that fear. But there is things that do trigger me, for example, like smells of a fire burning or loud noises. But other than that, I've overcome my fear with fire, and I just see it as it was something that tried to hurt me, but it didn't. It made me stronger.
That is terrific to hear. Vicky, Sacha, thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us about Silver Haze. It is a very dramatic movie and very very touching and emotional. So thank you for this talk with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.